And welcome back. This is your man Warrior, and we are going to be going over Darth Revan's kit. Now, just preliminary, after looking over the kit, what it looks like to me is they're making a highly specialized class, specifically high synergy with 6 individuals, and then far less synergy with anyone else. And I think what they're trying to do is create a team that is very specifically a counter to another team, Jedi being specifically who they're countering, and then a little bit weaker to other teams such as CLS, Mother Talzin, like Night Sister teams, and other potential teams. It's a very strong kit, but it looks like hopefully it's going to bring balance, because while it's going to make it pretty easy to kill Jedi Knight Revan, it's going to be more difficult to kill individuals such as CLS and whatnot. So we're going to go through that. Right now it talks about the strengths. It's got this little splash page and it says it's going to have new synergies with the Sith Empire. So that's what I'm talking about. The Sith Empire is going to be its kind of its own thing. It's not going to work super amazing against everybody. And there's not many Sith Empire characters. So when this launches, they're actually going to re-tag a couple of characters, and those are the characters underneath. So there'll be a total of 6 Sith Empire. There's going to be, of course, Darth Revan, and then there's going to be Bastila Fallen, HK-47, and then the 3 kind of filler characters, Sith Assassin, Sith Trooper, and Sith Marauder. So those are going to have some synergy with it as well. There will be some Sith synergy for your other Sith as well, but less so. It says it's extremely effective against enemy leaders, and new debuffs, Fear and Ferocity. So we're going to have a couple of new debuffs that are going to be out. And my first impressions is he basically hurts his team to make his team better. He debuffs them to make them stronger. And then when the debuffs fall off, they get stuff back. So they hurt themselves to get stronger. It's kind of interesting. It's almost like Thrawn when he speeds up the opponent before he ability blocks the opponent. It sounds counterintuitive, but it works really well. The same is true with this. He's able to debuff his team, which actually makes them faster and makes them hit harder. So pretty interesting. So his name is Darth Revan. Obviously, he's dark. He is a dark side attacker Sith. So he carries the Sith title and Sith Empire, which is that new one. He is a leader, and it says he's a ruthless Sith Lord with an extremely effective aim at taking down the enemy leader. Now, the basic is called Lacerate, and it almost looks a little bit like Kylo Ren Unmasks ability, where he drags his saber on the ground. So pretty cool. It will deal special damage to a target enemy. It inflicts buff immunity on that target and the enemy leader. So buff immunity, regardless of who he's going after, he's going to put it on both the target and the enemy leader. It says if the target is the leader, then you're going to reduce Darth Revan's cooldowns by 1. So if you go only after the leader, you'll only get buff immunity on 1, but you'll get a cooldown reduction, which is pretty awesome. All right, his first special has a cooldown of 3. It's very cool. He's got that lightning. They call it a Force Storm, and the final text is going to say it deals special damage to all enemies, so it's an AoE, and shock them for 3 turns, or for 2 turns. So that shock is actually, the normal shock debuff. So this is more Sith shock synergy. Pretty cool. And then all Sith Empire allies gain 5 stacks of ferocity for 2 turns. This attack can't be evaded, so if they have foresight, it doesn't matter. It can be resisted, which means if they have enough tenacity, the shock is not going to land. So you definitely, on this particular one, are going to need potency to make sure that it lands. So then they tell you what ferocity is. Ferocity is they get with the stack negative 15% defense and negative 15% tenacity per stack, and there's 5 of those stacks, so that's 75% negative defense and negative 75% tenacity. It means they're going to be much squishier, and they're going to be much more susceptible to debuffs. But they get something that can't be copied. It's a buff. They get plus 8% offense and 8% potency. So they're trading their defense for offense and trading their tenacity for potency. This is super awesome because it makes sure they land their debuffs, and it ensures that they hit far harder than they normally would hit. So this is pretty cool. Let's go ahead and look at his second special. So his second special is called Insanity, and it has a cooldown of 4 instead of a cooldown of 3. So this one's going to be used not quite as frequently as the first special. And its final text will say it deals special damage to a target enemy and inflict fear on them and the enemy leader for 1 turn. So kind of like his basic, where you can attack a non-leader character, inflict buff immunity, and then also automatically apply that buff immunity to the leader. This is true. You can inflict fear on whoever you'd like, and it will apply to the leader as well. So pretty cool. And then it says this fear can't be copied, dispelled, or resisted, and this attack can't be evaded. So he can't, tenacity doesn't matter because resisted is how you would resist it with tenacity, and it can't be evaded, which means foresight doesn't matter. So this is going to happen. It can't be copied, and it's locked. It can't be dispelled. So they're going to get that fear for 1 turn. What fear is, though, the new debuff is once it's locked on top of them, they miss their next turn. They can't use abilities. They can't evade. So I'm going to turn it up a little bit so you can see that. They can't evade. Cooldown increases by 1, and fear expires on taking damage from an attack. It's kind of like a really hyper modified stun, and it will probably act very similar to a stun to the 2 individuals. Kind of puts them out of commission, and you could focus on a different target. Now, if you hit one of those targets, they come out of fear because it expires when they take damage. So this is to kind of immobilize 2 individuals so you can focus fire on different people. This would be really, really good for going against a team such as L3, you know, where L3 is constantly, you know, getting turn meter from the others and whatnot. This fear would allow them to not use abilities. It locks them. They miss their next turn. And then, of course, it increases cooldowns by 1 and fear expires upon taking damage. What I really like is the animations. I think they did a really great job with the animations. And I think that the ferocity is a really cool debuff that actually is kind of a buff for your team, and then the fear is kind of like a really cool stun that you get to apply on the opponents. And then of course he has a leadership ability, Lord of the Sith. This will be a Zeta leadership ability. All right, so the leadership ability, Lord of the Sith, it will be a Zeta. It says Sith Empire allies. This is important. Sith Empire allies, those are the 6 we talked about at the beginning, are immune to turn meter reduction when they are debuffed. So when he gets those debuffs on them, or if somebody on the other side applies debuffs, the good news is it's going to make them immune to turn meter reduction, which is awesome. And they'll gain plus 10% critical chance and 15 speed for each of their own debuffs. So if you debuff them or they get debuffed themselves, they're going to gain that speed and crit chance. And then at the start of each Sith Empire ally's turn, they'll gain 5 stacks of ferocity for 2 turns. So ferocity debuffs them, and so they're going to automatically get that, which is going to keep them in that high speed and crit chance. So this is pretty awesome. At the start of battle, if the allies are Sith Empire, they'll have a plus 50% critical damage. Now, at the end of each turn, if an enemy falls below 50% health during that turn, it's going to inflict death mark on the enemy leader. Now, this is important because while it can't be resisted, it can't be evaded, and it's going to lock on there, that death mark then allows for you to kill the leader. What's really cool about this is it's kind of like Jedi Knight Revan. Jedi Knight Revan can target whoever he wants and then put death mark. This specifically goes after the enemy's leader by death marking the enemy leader as soon as one of the other individuals on the team go below 50% health. And so that gives you the freedom, once you chew one character down, to immediately go back and start just destroying the leader. So this is a very interesting targeting technique. Now, he has a couple of uniques. The first unique is called Conqueror. It's a Zeta. And then his other one is called Villain, and it's a Zeta. So there's 3 Zetas, a leadership, and 2 uniques, kind of like Jedi Knight Revan. Final text says Darth Revan has 100% defense penetration at the start of each Sith Empire ally's turn. They, every single time they take a turn, are going to dispel all foresight on all enemies, which can't be evaded. So the foresight's not going to prevent the dispel of the foresight, which basically perpetually eliminates foresight from ever being had on the enemy's turn, as long as you're using the Sith Empire. It says when a Sith Empire ally is inflicted with ability block or stun, this is anybody on the team that's Sith Empire, if they're ability blocked or if they're stunned, they will dispel that debuff, and then it'll turn into ferocity, which is the defense reduction, tenacity reduction for the offense, and potency increase. So you can't ability block them or stun them because it actually will convert to making them stronger and more powerful. The debuffs actually help them. This is very interesting. It also says enemies can't assist or gain bonus moves if their attack is targeting Darth Revan. So any of those calls to assist and stuff, if you're trying to take out the opponent's Darth Revan, you're not going to be able to do all those calls to assist and bonus moves because it's not going to allow it unless you're targeting someone other than Darth Revan. So the second unique villain has a Zeta, of course, and it says when Darth Revan uses an ability during his turn, if the selected target is already inflicted with Death Mark, Fear, or Corrupted Battle Meditation, and remember, you're inflicting fear with him, you're inflicting fear with the other characters, you're inflicting Corrupted Battle Meditation through Fallen Bastila. This is definitely something that you want to have with him, is going to be HK and Bastilish on Fallen for this synergy. It says Darth Revan will immediately use Lacerate, and just remember Lacerate is his basic ability that deals special damage to a target enemy, inflicts buff immunity on the enemy and the leader, and then it also, if it's only the leader, it will reduce his cooldowns by 1. Once you inflict fear on the opponent, as soon as that fear goes away, it totally cleanses them of any benefits, of any buffs that they could have gotten during that time frame. So it constantly is cleansing them off by allowing that fear to expire. Pretty awesome. And then whenever Darth Revan's health falls below 50%, it is equalized with the other healthiest ally. That's any healthiest ally. So it allows for him to basically energized. Now, the cool thing is this is a health equalization. So you can't, even if you have healing immunity and things like that on him, it doesn't matter because that's going to work around the healing immunity. Now, they are talking about synergies here, and it shows Darth Revan's obviously going to have very unique synergy with Fallen Bastila and HK-47. And then, of course, they're adding the tag to Sith Assassin, Sith Trooper, and Sith Marauder. So what are your guys' thoughts? I think this is going to be a very specialized team. I feel like if it goes against Jedi Knight Revan, it's going to punish them. It's going to remove all their foresight. It's going to constantly be inflicting debuffs. Those debuffs are going to convert to cleanses, so they're going to constantly lose all of their buffs. They can't take all those bonus turns when they're going against Revan, so all those calls to assist to kill. There's going to be automatic buff immunity, a lot of that on his basic to the leader and to whoever you're targeting. And it's just a very, very strong anti-Jedi team. However, there's going to be a lot of other teams that don't care so much about all those super buffs, and so it's just going to come down to bottom line DPS. And the thing is these characters are naturally going to get ferocity, which means they're going to have lower armor, lower defense, and because of that lower defense, it's going to make them easier to kill, which means even if they have Sith Trooper on their team, if you're running CLS, you probably would chew through this. What I like about this is they've made the team to be very strong against certain teams, but also very weak against other teams. And that's where the paper, rock, scissors comes into play. It's super important. Prior to Jedi Knight Revan, they actually had started to acquire this natural kind of balance in the Force, so to speak, for the game, and it was very healthy. And then Jedi Knight Revan definitely messed that up. It's now like 85 to 90% of the meta is Jedi Knight Revan. So these characters are going to give you that opportunity to be able to kind of switch it back and put it back into a normalcy. So what are your thoughts? Leave them in the comments down below. I'm super excited. This event should be very soon TM. And as always, leave your thoughts down below in the comments and keep your gaming on. Warrior out.